Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about the Präteritum. Let's get started. What's the so-called Präteritum? It's a tense we use to talk about past events. Let's look at some examples. Ich spiele Fußball, I play football. Ich spielte gestern Fußball, I played football yesterday. Wir machen die Hausaufgaben. We do the homework. Wir machten gestern die Hausaufgaben. We did the homework yesterday. Ich sehe ein Sofa. I see a sofa. Ich sah ein Sofa. I saw a sofa. Ich bin im Wohnzimmer. I am in the living room. Ich war im Wohnzimmer. I was in the living room. So many examples, but they are very useful to explain how the Präteritum works. You might have spotted that the Präteritum forms of spielen and machen look very similar. This is the case because both of these verbs are regular. Here the Präteritum is formed by adding another t, but more on that later. In the third and fourth example, we didn't add another t because both sehen to see and sein to be are irregular verbs. Although these forms are also formed according to a fixed pattern, there is usually a vowel change. But before we go into too much detail here, let me make something clear. In German, we almost never use the Präteritum in speech. It's not used like this simple past in English. The Präteritum is usually used in writing, so nobody would actually say, ich spielte gestern Fußball. But you might see that sentence in a novel or a report or newspaper. But, and that's a big but, there are a few really important verbs for which we actually do use the Präteritum in speech. But really only a few. No need to panic. First of all, the modal verbs must, need to be allowed to, and so on. But we'll talk about that later. They don't concern us now. Secondly, and more importantly, sein to be and haben to have. Which means that a sentence like ich war im Wohnzimmer, I was in the living room, is one we would actually say. Therefore, let's take a closer look at these two verbs, haben and sein, and how we form the Präteritum here. As always, let's start with some examples. Ich war in Berlin means I was in Berlin. Du warst zu Hause means you were at home. Sie, es war im Museum means he, she, it was in the museum. Wir waren in der Kirche means we were at church. Ihr wart auf einem Konzert means you were at a concert. Sie waren im Kino means they were at the cinema. But what about how? Ich hatte Durchfall means I had diarrhea. A very important phrase nobody ever wants to say. Du hattest auch Durchfall means you had diarrhea too. Sie, es hatte keinen Durchfall means he, she, it didn't have diarrhea. Lucky them. Wir hatten anderes Essen means we had different food. Ihr hattet auch anderes Essen means you had different food too. Sie hatten einen Arzttermin means they had a doctor's appointment. Alright, now you know how to say I had diarrhea yesterday. You're welcome. But there might be one remaining question here. If not the Präteritum, what do we actually use in German to talk about the past? The answer is the perfect tense. So instead of ich spielte Fußball, we'd say ich habe Fußball gespielt. Similar to the English present perfect tense. But we'll talk more about that later. What have we learned today? We learned that we usually only use the Präteritum in writing, whereas we use the perfect tense to talk about past events. But there are two very important exceptions here where we actually do use the Präteritum in speech, haben and sein. If you want to know more about the Präteritum, you have to jump ahead to our A2 course. If you want to learn more about the perfect tense, you only have to jump ahead to chapter 18 here in our A1 course. Just check the description below. If you want to practice the Präteritum forms of sein and haben, just click on the link below for free exercise. As always, no sign up necessary. For even more explanations, exercises and fun learning games, also for this topic, visit our website at www.wasdas.com. In our next video, we'll talk about possessive determiners. And if this video was helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fun German lessons. See you next time. Bye bye.